Today's reading comes from John 14, 12 to 21, and I'll read it for you. And this comes from Tom Wright's, or N.T. Wright, you might know him as, its translation. Morning, Olive. It says this: I'm telling you the solemn truth, Jesus continued. Anyone who trusts in me will also do the works that I am doing. In fact, they will do greater works than these because I'm going to the Father. And whatever you ask in my name, I will do it, so that the Father may be glorified in the Son. If you ask anything in my name, I will do it. If you love me, he went on, you will keep my commands. And I will ask the Father, and he will give you another helper to be with you forever. This other helper is the Spirit of truth. The world cannot receive him because it doesn't see him or know him. But you know him because he lives with you and will be in you. I'm not going to leave you bereft. I am coming to you. Not long from now, the world won't see me anymore, but you will see me. Because I live, you will live too. On that day, you will know that I am in my Father, and you in me, and I in you. Anyone who has my commandments and keeps them, that's the person who loves me. Anyone who loves me will be loved by my Father, and I will love them and show myself to them. I had one of these friends that is just so inspiring. Just, you meet them and it almost changes the course of your life when you meet them. And my friend's name was Barry. And Barry was a minister in South Africa. And one of these ministers that is just inspiring, that even if you are different understandings of the Bible and God, he was just challenging, and you'd spend 30 minutes with him and you came away just seeing the world differently. And I think, if I'm honest, Barry was one of the first people that ever planted the seed in me when it came to wanting to be a minister. And Barry had moved down to Port Elizabeth in South Africa and had got married and had two beautiful children, young. I mean, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the one child must have been about 2. And he was very athletic. And one day he went sea kayaking. He was an experienced sea kayaker. And he went out in his boat and paddled out, and some people saw him paddle out, and that was the last. Well, that night, his wife waited for him to come home, and he didn't. They went searching for him and found his car, and they knew what was happening. And 2 days later, they found his body. When they found his body, the general consensus was that he'd fallen out of his boat, or his kayak, and that as he was in the water, the kayak and Barry drifted apart, and he died eventually of hypothermia. And it was one of these moments that rocked me to my core. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget finding the news that he was missing, and then finding out that they found his body. And the first question that went into my head was this: God, where are you? Where are you? How unfair is this? I mean, young children, I think he was about 36 when this happened. Just in the prime of his life, just so much to give, not only to the church, but to communities, inspiring. God, where are you? How could you let this happen? And if I'm honest with myself, that question of where is God, where are you, God, has reverberated in many instances in my life. I once spent some time with a family that had lost a baby who died. When I've spent time with people who've been in their pain and in their suffering, I mean, that question is there, where are you, God? When I lost my mom, I thought it was really unfair. You know, my mom was 68 and just had a brand new grandchild, and we were wanting to explore that and to enjoy the time together with her. She died. Where are you, God? Where are you? And I don't know if you may be a little bit like me, that you've asked this question too. There's moments in your life where maybe these questions have been at the forefront. Where are you? Because you seem so absent. So there's those moments in our lives where we ask where God is. But then there's also, I think you can come from this question from another point of view. I think the question of where are you, there are those people who come to this question from a real like seeking, like, where are you, God? Like, I want to see you, I want to know you more. Where are you? Where can I find God? It's almost as if we're playing a game of hide and seek, and God is really good at hiding, and we're not that good at seeking. And the disciples, I think, are in this place. They know what's coming in the story. They know Jesus is about to be killed. They know that everything they've given their lives to is about to be taken away. They know the trauma that's about to hit them. They know, all that is going to happen. And they left asking, where is God? Jesus, where are you going to be? Where are you going to be when, we've given our lives to this. What's going to happen? Where are you? Where are we going to find you? How are we going to live this life in the midst of all the grief and the pain and all that's going to come before us? What are we going to do? And yet, Jesus answers them in the most beautiful way. I actually think this verse that we read there, or these verses that we read, are actually extremely pastoral and caring for the disciples rather than judgmental. And what I mean by this is, Jesus says this. He says, I'm going to send you a helper. Now, the Greek in this word helper is translated in different ways, but it never really in the English language captures the entirety of the word. And the word can be translated or fully translated better, I think, if you break it apart. And one of the things that you can translate it as God is going to send you a comforter. Now, if you've ever lost someone close to you, and you have that friend that cares for you and works with you and just loves you through that pain, that just embraces you in the midst of all the turmoil and the heartache, and that moment that you thought or that situation you couldn't get through, but because of their love and their care for you, they helped you through it. That's what Jesus talks about here as the first understanding of this word, is that when times get difficult, God is going to help you and carry you and hold you as almost like a friend does in the midst of turmoil. So that's the first thing that Jesus says to these disciples. Then the other part of this word is an advocate. That Jesus is going to send an advocate to you. Now, For many years, I thought advocate was for God. This idea that we needed someone to make sure that we were on the right side of God, like a good lawyer. But as I read this passage this week, that changed a little bit for me to advocate as almost like a cheerleader. An advocate in the sense of like someone who's got your back, that someone who's got your corner, someone that'll defend you to the nth degree. Someone that no matter where you are, they're always wanting the best for you and pushing you forward and saying, yep, you can do it. And when you have that kind of person in your corner, when you have someone who will defend you to the hills, who has your back and can speak truth to you, but at the same time just loves you into this new reality, you're a bit more confident, aren't you? You're a bit more, you're more able to take risks, and you're not scared to make mistakes. So in the 2 words, Jesus says, I'm going to send you this person, or this thing, this spirit. And this spirit, this help will be a comforter. Yes. So comforting, it will help you through the hard times. But it'll also have your back. It'll be your cheerleader. It'll say, you can do it. You can move on. And this inspires the disciples. But Jesus goes on further because he knows, I think, secretly what their question is. So where are we going to find this helper, comforter, advocate? And for me, this is the beauty of this verse. Jesus says, lives with you and lives in you. He lives with you, he lives in you. Friends, isn't it beautiful that God resides within you? You are a child of love, a child of importance that God values or wants to be in you. The only way I can describe it is, that water has no form until it resides in a glass or whatever takes it. Whatever the container is, water will sort of morph into that. God, think of yourself as a container, and God pours God's self into you. It's a beautiful, beautiful way of seeing things. The reality for many of us is that we've been told that the church is the house of God, that the church is where God resides, but that's not true. The reality is that God resides in you. You are God's dwelling place. You are where God takes refuge, or God finds himself, or God's self. You are the house of God. Think of that for a second. Think of that within you, God resides. We're often told that, that it's almost like the kingdom, that we need to go searching outside for our fix, but it's all within us. Paul talks about it like this. He says, don't you know that your body is a temple? And for the disciples, this would have been groundbreaking. It would have been something new, because their experience was that the holy, the sacred, all that was important was in the temple. But Jesus says, no, the temple is within you. Or the kingdom of God is within you. You are sacred. You, are holy. You have been touched by God. You have been touched, been formed by the hand of the divine. Let me read quickly to you that last bit, 18 to 21 quickly, and it says this. I'm not going to leave you bereft. I am coming to you. Not long from now, the world won't see me anymore, but you will see me. Because I live, you will live too. On that day, you will know that I am in the Father, and you in me, and I in you. Anyone who has my commandments and keeps them, that's the person who loves me. Anyone who loves me will be loved by my Father, and I will love them and show myself to them. Don't let anyone tell you what you're not, but rather live from a place where people tell you where you are or tell you who you are. You are a place where God resides. God is not absent from you. God is with you. So if you're anything like me, you might struggle to hear that voice. And that's okay. The Buddhists talk about the monkey brain, that as soon as you start trying to listen to the voice, it's almost like a monkey jumping around in your head. And I'm going to give you some things that I've found really, really helpful when it comes to trying to listen and to decipher where God is within me. And I think that these have been extremely life-giving. So if they work for you, take them. If they don't work for you, you can leave them behind. But the first thing about hearing that inner voice of the divine is to just own it. And what I mean by that is, for many of us, we'll struggle with the idea that God resides in us, that we're worthy, that we have a bit of the sacred and the holy within us. For many of us, that's a step too far. And that's okay. So what I would suggest is just start with a mantra. And that mantra could be, I am holy. I am sacred. I am touched by God. God resides in me. Whatever it is. I suffered from quite a bad bout of depression and anxiety for a while. And one of the mantras I did was that I am loved and accepted just the way I am. And what I would do is I would set an alarm every hour on the hour, it would beep. And whatever I was doing, I'd stop. And for just 30 seconds or in a minute, I would go, I am loved and accepted just as I am. I am loved and accepted just as I am. And I did that for about a month and a half, 2 months, until it was almost ingrained in me. And it became extremely life-giving. So maybe today you just need to hear, God resides in me. Just remind yourself of that. The second thing I found really helpful is learning to be quiet. And what I mean by that is we have so many distractions around us. We turn on the TV, we go to our phones, we watch videos, we have music playing all the time, we are busy, we're surrounded by noise. And sometimes we need to turn it all off. Sometimes we need to turn the music off and just sit in silence. The next one is to find a place to pause, or find a pause. I think what this pandemic has taught me is that we're addicted to being busy. We're addicted to keeping ourselves busy. Maybe part of hearing the inner voice is to stop being busy, to just sit and be. I spoke to someone recently who said that they'd lost their partner and they'd been running around to avoid the pain. And now this lockdown had forced them to deal with what was deepest within them. And I think that we need to stop. Ram Dass said this. He said, be still. The quieter you become, the more you will hear. And that is so true. Especially in my life, I found that the quieter I become, the more the inner voice speaks to me. The more I'm able to be in touch with what the divine within me is saying. The other thing I found really important is to ask God to speak. Not that God isn't speaking, but sometimes just becoming aware and giving myself permission to listen to it. So just ask God to speak. It's really helpful. The next thing is listen to your body. Your body will tell you what you need. If you need rest, you'll need it. Your body is a really good indicator of where you are. Often, those people who tell us that they're sick will tell us that I didn't feel quite right for a while. Sometimes just listen to your body is a way of being in touch with the divine. Sometimes resting is what you need, and your body will tell you that. The next thing I've discovered that really helps us being in contact or in touch with what God is doing within us is take your time. We want to solve everything right now. We want solutions right now. We want ones and zeros. We want stability. We want issues to be sorted immediately. Sometimes things need to be drawn out. Sometimes we don't have to have the solution today. Sometimes you can actually sleep on a problem. You don't have to always solve everything right now. And by doing that, you allow the tension to create a space for that voice to speak. The next one is take a step. Sometimes just taking a step in faith allows for that voice to be heard. We won't sometimes know what the next step is, but sometimes we just need a walk. Just take a step. And the last one I found really helpful is, if need be, speak to people. Bounce what's going on in your head, bounce what's going on. People will affirm it or reject it. Find people you trust, though. That's really important. But speak openly, engage openly, and you'll be surprised how people affirm what's happening in you. The divine is always speaking. God is always speaking. And it's that voice of cheering you on, comforting you, and holding you. And that's what's within us. So, to get back to my original question about Barry and his death, I was upset with God, waved my fist, and I kept asking God, where are you? And I don't have the answer to that, but pretty sure my experience has told me that God was in the water with Barry, being Barry's comforter, being Barry's strength. As he was dying there, God did not leave him. God sent him a helper. And in the midst of that, God was with me. In the midst of all the suffering and the pain that I was experiencing, God had sent me a comforter and an advocate. Friends, I don't know what trauma you've been through. I don't know how many times or why you said, where is God? Maybe you're seeking, maybe you're trying to find where God is in the midst of a terrible situation. Maybe you're trying to find God in the midst of a life that's falling apart, a relationship that's falling apart. Maybe you're just trying to find God because you're really interested in Him And where is God in the midst of this world? I think there are many people asking where is God? And this verse reminds us that God has sent us a comforter and an advocate. That God is on our side, pushing us on, cheering us on. And God does not reside somewhere else. God resides within you. So friends, may you find God within you. May you be in touch with what God is doing within you and through you. May you realize that you are where God dwells and you are a child of the divine. That there's nothing that can separate you from that love. So may God hold you and be with you and all those you love. God bless.